The meeting of October 14, 2021 will come to order. Do we have any special intentions? Special intentions? I have one. Vincent Bruno, who recently passed away, he was a civic activist and a devoted Christian. He was well known and well liked by many, many people. Please keep him and his family in your prayers. And then, at this time, I ask that well, recently, I'm going to start off by saying this. Recently, I had the good fortune to meet pastor of the Vineyard Church, what was prompted by our very own Councilwoman, Christy McKinney. In addition to worship, I also learned about the good work that the Vineyard Church does to help the residents of the city, especially those who are in need of assistance. We truly are blessed to have the Vineyard Church and its pastor located right here in the city of Kenner at the corner of Salentini Parkway and Joyini Boulevard. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you Pastor Phil Johnson of the Vineyard Church and ask that he lead us in this evening's prayer. Pastor, if you will.
Thank you, Councilman, for those kind words. It's our privilege as a church in the city of Kenner to serve alongside you, serving our citizens and our city. So tonight, we pray for the presence of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit in this place over these people. Lord, these are folks who have been appointed, elected to serve the citizens and the community of Kenner. Tonight, we ask that as they do business representing the people, that they would be filled with wisdom that comes from somewhere they don't understand, it's beyond themselves. That there would be a spirit of cooperation, guided mostly by compassion for the citizens and the city. I pray that you would give each council member, each elected official, everyone that works in the city of Kenner, Lord, that you would give to us and to them the courage to be public servants, and the heart, a selfless heart, to place others above themselves, to place our citizens and our city above all else, because we know you desire us to have a city that is safe, a place where we can live in peace and prosper. We ask these things in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Next, we ask that Councilwoman Christy McKinney lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Do we have any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none, under the consent agenda, we have item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of September 30th, 2021. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. Item 2A is a resolution granting an alcoholic beverage permit to Gala Music Foundation on October 23rd, 2021 at 3800 Loyola Drive, being property owned by the city of Kenner and Kenner, Louisiana. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2246-21. The New Orleans Running Systems Incorporated to hold a public gathering on October 30th, 2021 from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the purpose of a nonprofit fundraiser at Laketown. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Mayor Zahn, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. We have a few things. I don't think it'll be quite as long tonight. Some good news. Well, this is before Ida, though. The sales tax numbers reflecting that we received in October, which would have been, though, from August, were up before Ida almost 14%. That's $373,000, almost $374,000 actually, compared to the same month last year. Did y'all hear the first numbers? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. These numbers are the numbers we received, sales tax numbers from October, but it would reflect the month of August. So we were up about 14% before Ida, which was about $374,000 compared to the same month last year, this month last year. For the current fiscal year, that would give us up about 31% at $3.3 million. So remember, though, that was before the storm, so obviously we had some low, but then, of course, people came back and people purchased. So I remember in the early days after Katrina, and you remember this, Mike, in 2006, we were seeing a spike in sales tax, so I think we'll see that again, too. We do have a few people here tonight. We're going to start off, and I'm going to say who we're going to have first.
Mayor.
Sure.
And also, with Katrina, that spike lasted for a couple of years.
Absolutely.
So just seeing the traffic at the Walmarts and the Home Depots right now, I expect it to stay up.
Absolutely. Yeah, because there was talk of 2 Home Depots at that time. So there was going to be a second Home Depot store in the city of Kenner, but that didn't happen. So we'll have a few speakers tonight. I thought it would be important to bring Patrick Hamby to the council meeting to give us an update. Look, we all know that we got the power restored within about 2, maybe 3 weeks. Everybody within 3 weeks, most of the city within 2 weeks. But there are still some things that we see throughout the city of Kenner that he's going to address that him and I talked about before he came here tonight. We also I will call on Chad to talk about debris. I know debris is still an issue out there, obviously, but I think Chad said it the best. Let's talk to him on the 61st day, and I'm quoting him, if it's still an issue. I don't believe it will be, because we told you all very early on and told the people of the city of Kenner it would take 2 months. And then Deborah will talk about the buildings, where we are with the buildings, and if Mr. Ryan Dahl or someone from the Dahl, someone from Dahl Insurance will be here. We'll take him when he does come in. But I'd like to start with Mr. Patrick Hamby because obviously you don't want to sit through the whole council meeting. So we'll let Patrick go first, and then we'll go straight to Chad and then to Deborah and come back to Ryan. Mr. Hamby?
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy Louisiana. I did talk with the mayor, and we have a few cleanup items I'd like to discuss. So after we mentioned Katrina, but after any major hurricane event, you can boil down the restoration process, at least from an Entergy perspective, into 3 buckets. You got, obviously, to get the lights on as quick and safely as possible. We hit that goal. We got them 90% restored within 10 days. And then the rest, shortly thereafter, as the mayor said. So that's something we're very proud of. And that's the number 1 step. Number 2, we follow up with cleanup work. And what cleanup work means, it's 2 different sub-buckets. You have your permanent repairs, where we're coming back. We did some quick fixes, if you will, to get the lights on as quickly as possible. Now we're coming back and cleaning up with some permanent repairs. That is ongoing around the city. I mentioned right after the storm, you would see that, and sometimes we have to proactively drop people out for safety, an hour here, 2 hours there, maybe 20 minutes here, while we do some permanent repairs, so that is still ongoing. The second sub-bucket for these cleanup work is removing the debris, the leftover debris from an Entergy perspective. Again, that's, whole poles that may be on the ground, cut up poles that are on the ground, transformers, things like that. So we did make our sweep. As of today, the transformers should be gone out of the city of Kenner. The poles should be gone as of this week as well. I will caveat that, and each of you have my email and my cell number. If you have any instances of poles, transformers, or any Entergy-related equipment that you see out there that we missed, please let me know. Some of it may have been covered up in other debris that's since been removed and it's still there, or it may have been, inadvertently overlooked. So if you have any instances of poles or transformers, I have a cleanup crew, at my disposal to help me with you guys and your constituents. So let me know, and I'll take care of that. The third issue I mentioned 3 buckets, so we get the lights on, we clean the debris, now we have room to come back and work on the street lights. The city of Kenner has quite a few street lights, thousands upon thousands of street lights. Many of those were knocked down along with the poles. That first step to get the lights on as quickly and safely as possible doesn't include putting the street lights back up. That's happening right now. So now that the power's stored, the plan is, and we've gotten about 40 to 50 complaints regarding streetlights out from the city of Kenner, from Brian Whitfield and his team, and we're going to assess those. We actually started today and should wrap those up tomorrow. So those initial complaints that you've received through the city of Kenner Avenue are going to be completed by the end of the day tomorrow. That doesn't mean everything will be done. That's just the ones that you guys have received. This Saturday, we're going to actually begin patrolling the major boulevards. And what I mean by that is Williams, Loyola, Joe Yenny, Vintage, West Esplanade, Veterans, Airline, and Jefferson Highway by 3rd Street. So once we get those major boulevards patrolled, we'll have the inventory, and then we'll have to go back in the following week and make those repairs on the major boulevards, and then we fan out into the other streets, into the neighborhoods, and so on and so forth. And the 3rd bucket of street lights out are the ones that are reported to Entergy via the normal reporting processes, which could be either online or calling the phone center, and we're working to address those too. And another item I'm sure you will have questions on, you're paying for a certain amount of lights on your bill as a city. A certain amount have been knocked down or inoperable since August 29th when the storm came through. Once the last light is installed, we'll do exactly kind of what you're probably thinking, the math to say, what's the prorated amount between when the light went off, we know that, August 29th, and when the last one was put back on. So I'll get with the mayor and his office and all of you and talk through that credit amount too. But that'll be addressed after we finish the lights to make sure that we give you the full credit amount. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Councilman Segur, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. Patrick, thank you. A lot of these were questions that I've had already passed through the administration and then was asking for you to come so we could continue the discussion. As you said, your buckets, I agree y'all have gone that way and it's worked fairly good to get the power restored. The cleanup, I do. From the first conversation of saying when would it get picked up, I have seen transformers disappear, poles, still some more, but I know y'all saying you're going to finish, and then I'll start giving you addresses that I know. The street lights, though, was the biggest concern because I do get a lot of angry residents saying how dark their streets are. And I've driven the district and saw, 3-4 lights in a row that are out, so that's where that kind of comment's going to come from. So is your team going to be riding around at nighttime to see this? Is that how you're going to evaluate it?
Yes, they're night patrols. That's correct.
Okay. So then their job would be to see wherever there's a burnt out light and then replace it.
Correct. And we do have an inventory of where the light used to be, and there's a new pole where you won't notice the light missing if you're doing a night patrol, but we have an inventory of that as
Okay,
well.
well, that's what I'm, how would you know?
Okay.
But generally, it's in a subdivision, it's every other pole seems to be the pattern, so that's another key. But if you've got better records, I'm sure that's the better way.
Yes.
And the billing, yeah, well, naturally, you and I, at another council meeting, I had discussed how does that work when I see a lot of lights out waiting to be replaced, and then how are we being billed if we didn't actually use that electricity? So we'll get that credit and see how that kind of works out. Now, my most important now at this point is, which I know you and I and Eric at AT&T, and now I'm talking with Christina at Cox. Mm-hmm. When are these multiple poles going to get removed?
That'll happen throughout the normal process. I mean, we're still in a somewhat of a recovery phase, but that's definitely on the radar. I do have the list that you provided to Eric and I, and we've communicated on that. Obviously, before the storm, we're going to have to pick that back up very soon.
Because obviously there's more.
Yes.
With all the poles that were knocked, and when they replaced them, the same thing. They put the new pole next because they put their power lines, but the AT&T and Cox lines, they don't touch. So I know they have to come and move their lines, and then that pole get removed. But yeah, based on the list I've given y'all some time ago, there's still a lot of those. Now we've got additional ones, so got to get that. My other questions, but that's not for you, is going to be for AT&T and Cox, is hanging wires. There's plenty hanging AT&T and Cox wires that got knocked down, and there was no service, so nobody's complained, but the wires are just hanging. So that's not your problem. I hope not, because we don't need no electric wires hanging.
If you need me to check any of them out, though, feel free to let us know if you think it's a safety hazard that is Entergy related.
Well, no, I get it. If it's an energy wire, that's a different story.
Gotcha.
But no, this is Cox and AT&T wires. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Brannigan?
Patrick, great job, but I do have a question. If there is a pole laying in a street, like in the gutter in a subdivision, just let you know where that location is for y'all to pick it up?
Yes, please, just text me, email me, and then we'll have somebody pick it up ASAP.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President, and Patrick, good to see you again. As far as Councilman Segura mentioned about the light poles and the lights that are out, the process is still to contact your office, or is it better for me to collect the different spaces and then forward to your office or someone that you designate?
Just send them my way. I've been working with Kelly in your office with some, one here, one there, and as many as you get, just send them my way. I'll be happy to follow up for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No one else? Mr. Mayor?
Thank
you, Patrick.
We'll now have Chad Pitfield about the debris, give a report on that. And I did forget to mention that we would go from Deborah Foshi to Adam Campo to talk about operations.
Just give me 1 second while we get loaded up here for you. Got a little presentation to show y'all. All right. You everybody see? Sorry, I know behind, unfortunately in the council chambers, we'd have some different display, but we're obviously working with what we have at this time. But so this is an overview of actually what the actual, it's called the DMS site, the debris management site. This is in the back of the Pontchartrain Center. If you look right above the city seal is where our vegetation is going on. Right to the right of the city seal, those two large piles are our C&D piles. Again, this is the three partners that are handling all the debris. As far as the storm debris, which is classified anytime a storm comes through, and that is through FEMA. That is also through Department of Environmental Quality and the Corps of Engineers. So it's the City of Kenner working with Ceres, who is our collector, and our debris monitor, which is Debris Tech. So how much debris has been collected? Look, I know we put this out all the time, but the total is 171,655.7 cubic yards. That's broken down in vegetative of 132,666, and the construction and demolition debris 38,989, which we're just shy of 2 weeks. So that's been a tremendous push that the crews have been doing over the past 2 weeks to get almost 40,000 cubic yards. So I know some of these that y'all have been looking for, so let me break down what happened. So this is the management map that I get, and this is what we all look at every single day. So the collection crews are broken down into zones. They are assigned a certain zone. We have scouts in the city, as well as through the collectors as well. that go into certain neighborhoods and they start spotting the piles, right? We've seen the size of these trucks. These are big, huge double-barrel trucks. The last thing we want to do is have them just driving around willy-nilly going into a dead-end street, and next thing you know, they're stuck. They can't turn around. So there are scouts that look for piles, and they address those areas. They obviously fill up, and then they move on. So I'm going to progress through the entire city. This is starting in South Kenner, off of Reverend Richard Wilson by the Mississippi River below. The green circles, are the vegetative pickups, and that is when a truck is loaded out. They do a load, and this is when, from here, they go to the DMS site, which is at the Pontchartrain Center. So green circles is a vegetative pickup, and the brown circles are a C&D pickup. So this kind of, you can see that's the airport there, kind of in the middle up on the top. We'll move to the next view, which is from the airport going towards the unincorporated JP line. You'll see that area. A little bit of Veterans Heights, Susan Park up there to the north. Whoops, wrong way, sorry. A little further up, University City, 31st Street, Veterans Heights. Look, that area, Susan Park, Veterans Heights, took a hit. You can see just by the number of circles in C and D. And then, looking at these clusters of hits, you can tell where the hits were taken in the city. So there's been a lot of C and D pickup in that area off of 27th Street. That area got hit pretty hard. Moving forward, you see the 3 Loyolas. Start to see some of Chateau Estates. Again, the green circles, vegetation. The brown is the construction and demolition debris. Just moving through the city. So just to give you an idea, looking through that is every single part of the city that's been hit. Every single part of the city gets hit on a daily basis because of these zones. And look, these zones are not, these pictures were not indicative of those zones. The zones are not indicative of your council district. It is predetermined locations that they have scouted depending upon the initial I'm losing the word. By the initial preview of the city to see what areas hit the hardest, right? I mean, we don't want to make one zone the area that was hit the hardest while another zone really didn't get much damage. So those zones were broken down by then. Again, just to remind everyone, work day 41 for the debris contractors. They're doing a phenomenal job. This is people that are living in trailers, doing their best, working sun up to sundown to get our city clean. We're very thankful that they're here. Many of these folks have come from a previous job they were away from their families as well, and are now here in our city helping with our cleanup. Also, don't want to forget our city crews. They're day 51. A lot of these guys have been going nonstop, 14 to 16 hours a day, trying to get our city back to where we need it to be. So we definitely want to thank both our contractors that are here from out of town, as well as our guys that are here every single day. What happens with us throughout the week? Well, we get a lot of scrutiny because it is storm debris, and it has to be handled a certain way. Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality and the Corps of Engineers, they come and inspect our sites nonstop. We do have the site on 24th Street open up for white goods. We have some residents that have brought white goods there. So I had a very in-depth meeting with Department of Environmental Quality yesterday, and there's a reason that I had that 100% in the background. They are very happy with what is going on in the city of Kenner. As a matter of fact, the only thing that they asked us to do was to take a sign that listed our address and the pre-planned debris site number and move it a little closer to the gate. That was the biggest issue that they had. They were very happy with what's going on here in the city of Kenner. Continued positive support. Look, residents, local leaders, civic association leaders, our parish leaders, state leaders, GOSEP, the Governor's Office of Homeland Security, very, very, very positive on what's going on with us. Statewide political officials and the private industry. Look, River Birch Landfill, this is what they do for a living. Their words to me was, we need to spread what we're doing to other areas because we're doing it right. We have the right people in place between our contractors that are picking up and our debris monitors. We have the best operation rolling. So that's what keeps us going. How does this happen? Planning. Lots of planning. Tabletop exercises, document review. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Having contracts in place. Look, we have certain people like to go out there and tell us we didn't have these contracts in place. That's what took so long. They're full of it. They don't know what they're talking about. This man, Mr. Dote, I gave him kudos the first time when I was here. I get to implement this. He's the one that has all this stuff going. Y'all approve these contracts. This stuff was planned. The monitors and collection staff were sitting in my office by noon on Monday after the storm. Doesn't happen unless you're playing. The last thing, effective, purpose-driven communication. Not all the other rhetoric that goes around, not from the has-beens, the wannabes, the wish they weres. We don't care about them. We are handling every day with the debris contractors, with DEQ, with the landfill. Effective, purpose-driven communication is what's making this happen. I don't care what's going on Facebook. It doesn't bother us. We're going to continue to do what we're going to do. That's what I have.
Questions?
That way.
Councilman Brannigan.
Chair, we talk pretty much in the mornings, and the main thing that I've been getting questions on is when are they coming to my neighborhood? And it seems that the trucks are going out, and are you directing the trucks where they go?
A lot of it, yes.
Okay, or are these siders?
We give them the hot spots. If we see a house that has a mound of debris in the front and the sides, absolutely, I'm sending that in and asking them to address that.
Okay, because when they're picking up some of the stuff, and then they go and they skip some houses, like they'll go in if you got a big pile and they load their truck up, and then the next door neighbor says, well, you know, my pile's here, why didn't they pick my pile up? And I've been telling them, you know, maybe the truck's full. But what I don't understand is if the truck goes to a subdivision, why aren't they just going down the streets and picking the trash up, filling up, going to the dump, and then going back to that spot?
So we had some of that in the beginning, I think, and look, I talk to the debris monitors all the time. These are the guys that critique the collection guys, right? They're separate, independent, they're following FEMA guidelines. They're on that. So look, and I think I texted you this back as well. We have to remember we're on second pass vegetation, first pass C&D. That's two separate trucks.
Right.
So I don't know what these piles look like. Maybe the lady next door had C&D. Maybe her next door neighbor had vegetation. I can't tell you, but we can look into them. But
Okay. Because the questions I'm getting, you know, in some of the questions, like in the Holly Heights area there, I haven't seen a truck back here, and then I look at the maps, and they're green and brown and everything. And I mean, I've been telling the residents, we have 30 trucks out on the street. We have talked about that. Sometimes it's 27.
Sometimes it's 27, sometimes it's 33.
They gotta have maintenance done on them. I understand that, because we don't want these trucks breaking down.
Correct.
We want them picking up trash. But I guess looking at, maybe you can talk to these guys, I don't know, where they are, you know, do the street, you know, or, you know, that way you don't have people complaining about, I got piles of stuff left, they picked up Joe's, they didn't pick up mine, and that's the stuff that I hear every day.
Look, we get it as well. You know, one of the things too is that we're getting is people are just starting to get their insurance money and just starting to get contractors and materials. They're cleaning out a street, and by the time they're done, people are putting more stuff out. So they're having to combat that as well. There's many different pieces that could be going into this situation, but at the end of the day, as I said before, these professionals travel the country year-round. This is what they do for a living.
Okay. So the philosophy of working from east and west to the middle that I was told much earlier in the process is not accurate.
Yeah, it's actually been broken up into zones once the assessment of the city happened.
Okay. All right, so if I have some houses that have giant piles of trash, what do you want me to do?
Text me, send me the address.
Okay.
Councilman Brendan's doing it with his assistant. Send it to me.
Okay.
Pictures help, huh?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Councilman Wilmot as well. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw that out there. Look, Highway Park's a hot spot for us. We know that. We're working on Highway Park right now. Pictures absolutely help. And as you've seen, some of that stuff's been picked up already.
Tells you whether or not it's tree debris or whether or not it's C&D.
I know who to send.
That's right.
Yeah, in Chateau Lakefront, I have a lot of big piles of trash. I drove some of Chateau, and they got some pretty big piles in front of one of the homes, the Charvet home. I mean, they got
There's no doubt. There's still a lot out there.
loads of
Look, the
trash.
guys are still going. They don't stop till the sun goes down where they can't see anymore, and they'll start back up when the sun comes up.
Okay.
Councilman Brennan.
Excuse me. Thank you, Council Chair. Also, George, since you said that, I've also had some constituents that have gone ahead and hired companies themselves and split that with some neighbors to where, you know, it may not be 4 houses in a row, it may be 4 or 5 houses on a block, and that could be a reason that things are being skipped as well, that they're just gathering debris from the houses that are actually footing the bill for it, if you will.
No, I agree.
Are you, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, look, we're seeing that a lot. I mean, where people are asking us, is it okay if we hire somebody? Look, I'm telling you we're coming, but if you don't want it in front of your house and you want to go to alternative measures, we're not going to stop you. We're coming, though. That's the main thing. Like, I don't want anybody to take this from here that we're telling people to go hire your own people. We're coming. Just, look, we said 60 days for substantial completion. We're at 41. Give us a few more days.
Well, to follow on that comment since you said it, and I've told many constituents this, I mean, I know we're all riding the district on a regular basis, and if you don't go down the street one day and you go a couple of days later, there's definitely improvement, and there's still a long way to go. I think everybody understands that and can appreciate that, but I think we are, in the conversation you and I had the other night, we are further along than a lot of places, and there is work to do, but we'll get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Thank you, Council President. I guess I just have could we go back? I want to clarify what do the circles mean, the brown?
So that's a
said
load location.
That's a load location, so that's like a house?
No, that's where the truck is loaded out. So they've been down that entire street. That's
Okay.
where the truck is loaded, and that's where they're heading to. That's where they head to the landfill or to the DMS site.
Okay, so like if there's one on Monterey or there's 3 on Monterey, does that mean that it was loaded 3 times?
Yes.
Okay.
There could have been multiple trucks at the same time. They could have gone one way, come back the other way, and that's just the point where they did their load.
Okay.
Because that actual picture on the management site, I can click those individual dots and see pictures
Okay.
of the truck actually loaded.
Okay, so that actually explains it a lot better, so I understand that. And then you mentioned that there are zones that every day. Do the zones change? Are they consistent?
No, it's a consistent zone that they've done from the assessment when they first came here to assess all the damage on the city.
So how many zones are there throughout the city?
I don't know. I can check and see. I don't know that offhand.
Okay. Okay, so I'm still getting, we're all still getting complaints about debris. Oh, they I got a complaint yesterday that their stuff has been out since September 2nd. They haven't been down their street. The whole streets, they still have debris on their street. So I'll send that to you.
Most of that is going to be C&D. And when we see that, it's fence boards, it's sheetrock. C&D just started last week.
Okay.
So that's what a lot of that is.
Okay, and I did see a picture, so it was fence board, so I'll say that.
That's the reason.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that, so my only other question is, when you drop it off at the Pontchartrain Center, where does it go from there?
So from there, the tree debris gets chipped. So by DEQ regulations, we have to reduce it by 50%. So all of the tree debris gets chipped, and those chips go to River Birch landfill.
Okay.
The reduction for the C&D consists of a very huge bulldozer riding over it and crushing it down. Then that gets loaded on walking floor trailers, generally 100-yard trailers, and that gets transported to the River Birch landfill as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for recycling starting today. I'm very happy to have that.
I heard they had to have an extra truck just for your house.
Exactly, good. There was a lot of recycling there, so.
Councilman Hayes, you have the floor, sir.
Well, I do want to give the shout out to Aaron Smith, one of the crew bosses. He's done a great job, and I just want to mention his name. He's working hard, he really is. His crews are doing a good job.
Yeah, they really are, Councilman. I'm glad you said that, because like I said, these guys aren't from here. They come into our community, they're living in trailers and so forth, and these guys haven't been home to their families in several months, so I appreciate you saying that. We try to give them the kudos and give them the drive to keep going as well every time we see them. Again, this is not their community, it's ours, so we're thankful that they're here and for what they're doing.
His first crew's already left. He's got a second crew now, so.
Glad you can meet him.
Councilman Seeger, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. And some of the other comments that have already been questions asked of you were ones that I was going to have too, but still just to follow up though, as I've seen as from riding around, I may see a block that got picked up and then the next block didn't, but the next day they come back and they do start and finish out. As we talked before, some of the delays I've seen is they'll run the name streets, but they won't run the number streets at the same time. I'm sure they will come back and get to those too, but it does create a little like, well, why this and not that? And then I do agree with the various comments with the C and D. Now we're seeing the C and D getting picked up, so there are a lot of streets that are clean now, but right, the C and D just started however many days ago you said. So as we move into another week and a half, we're going to start seeing a cleaner city, and then they'll start piling it back up. So we'll have to address
Look, by no means is it going to be, when we said the 60 days, that was the substantial completion. So that's when we're going to say that we've made our runs through the city. People are probably going to be doing this for the next 3-4 months, continuing to put stuff out, but we're going to continue to pick it up as it goes out.
And I think it's fair to say they're not leaving until we give them the permission to leave that is clean.
They're not going anywhere.
Okay. I did also spend 35, 40 minutes out at Pontchartrain Center yesterday watching the process there between the vegetation. And I know initially we used the term chipping, but it's more of a shredding. And it's not a chip because people were saying, well, hey, can we just buy it and use it for mulch? But as you explained, and I've tried to explain back, because of it being contaminated by definition, it cannot be reused.
That tree was chipped on Saturday before Ida, then we probably could have done that. But unfortunately, the DEQ regulations pop in whenever the actual named storm is here, and it's considered storm debris. We ran into the same thing with Zeta as well.
Yeah, so that huge machine that's out there where they claw drops in.
It's a grinder.
And it comes out in grind, shred, and then that pile, and then they, as you said, they'll take and move that into a bigger truck and move away. And then the same thing with the C and D. I saw that dozer doing its thing.
Pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome operation they have going out there.
It most certainly is, but I do have one follow-up then is when the time comes for them to pull up and leave, is FEMA going to pay to blacktop our parking lot?
So that is part of a claim that we can put in for it. So the DEQ will not close out the site until it's restored to its pre-storm operation. So that will be part of the operation, yes.
Okay,
we went and photographed that lot prior to us moving C and D into there, so we could document and show what it looked like before.
Okay, because there's cleat marks all in that asphalt.
Yeah, and we knew that was going to happen.
Right, so as long as we're on tap to get that repaired or resurfaced, that whole place, then that's the key. All right, well, like you said, yeah, we all get those off and on complaints about why my area hasn't been picked up. It is coming, I understand, so I'll send you some pictures of some big piles too.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Carroll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Pitfield. And just let me say that, again, this map is better, like I said before, without being redundant, than me hearing a million gazillion cubic yards. That doesn't mean anything to me or most of the people that ask me. While this map is better, I think we can do better with this map, have a better legend to be able so people can read and understand what those circles mean, to draw it better, to say this circle means this, this color means that, because there is no legend to it. And like me, many calls have came in who saw this on the internet, on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebook person, so some of your comments about people on Facebook saying this and saying that, I don't know. I do know, as Councilman Brannigan said, that people call us and ask us, what is the schedule and when are they coming to our neighborhood? So a map that shows streets, what has been picked up, is something people can relate to. Another thing is the schedule. I thought I heard you say that you are the person that determines where the next day crew will go out and pick up
That's incorrect. I said I am one of the scouts that rides the city throughout the day and sends and forwards to them to add to their zones where certain piles are. So if a pile is halfway up a house and encompassing, such as one Councilman Wilmot encountered, where rats are running out, we're obviously going to go get that first before we get the 6 or 8 fence boards that are sitting on the ground. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for the correction. So there are other people that go out the day before to do the assessment.
Day of, I mean, we direct them and say, hey, send somebody the next truck over here because we just encountered. So it could be day of as well.
So the day before as well as the day of.
Mm-hmm.
So you can understand if we had a schedule or to know what these areas will be, that when people call, we can say, okay, they're right next to your neighborhood or they're farther away. To be able to give them that, they would stop calling as much or have some sense of understanding of where they are next on the list. So a schedule is understandable for me.
It's a lot more complicated, Councilman. It's a very thorough process. Hey, look, if they have it on the curb, we're picking it up. We're going to be there.
I know, but you could pass it up and go to something else.
Not likely. We're not looking to pass it up. We're looking to get it up off the street.
I'm telling you, people are calling in
and they call me as well. I get just as many calls as y'all. Absolutely.
And say that they passed up my house and went somewhere else. I'm saying that is happening.
Right, and I just mentioned to you, just like I told Councilman Brannigan, it very well could be a vegetative truck that passed or a C&D truck that passed, and that's the reason why.
It could be. It could be a number of reasons.
Absolutely.
That while they're doing
that's why I'm saying it's a very complex process.
I understand complexity. All I'm saying is to be able to get some type of email or report to say this is where we're going to be at for me and the people within that I talk to in the district. That is something would be advantageous to be able to receive, since that is being established either on the day before or the same day, and even after, to show what was completed. That also would be helpful to be able to show. So that is what I'm asking for, and to improve upon this map, because while it is a map, it can be approved upon to make better. Without a doubt.
This map is used around the country, actually, Councilman, so it's working for everybody else. It works for us.
This is the city of Kenner. What happens around the country is great. I'm concerned about the city of Kenner.
Gotcha.
And what is better for me to be able to understand and to explain to people who live in the city of Kenner.
Gotcha. Okay.
I can appreciate what happens in the country. Also, as far as mixed piles of all 3 different categories. There are some people, obviously, who were here earlier, who came out earlier and put them all together without any understanding, or not purposely, some of them. But are those piles going to be picked up after, or
no,
where?
They're picking through them now. So now that C&D's out, they'll pick through it. And look, if a tree limb gets in with sheetrock, okay. Mm-hmm. But they're picking through them.
So they're picking through them now. So after the picking is done, then they will go back and pick up what's left.
Well, the vegetative truck's going to try to pick out their tree limbs, and if the C&D truck comes, he'll pick out his C&D.
Yeah, so after the picking, whatever is left will be picked up.
Yes, multiple passes.
I think some people, when they see their pile that's mixed up, and it has less picking from their pile, they also believe that, for whatever reason, theirs not being picked up as a schedule. So we're dealing with, all of us is dealing with that as well. And as far as the schedule, how long we are going to be in this process, is that something we know we are going to end at some point in the future, or?
When the debris is picked up.
So we are going to do this until everything is picked up?
Yes, sir.
That is just, hey, that's fantastic. Because like you said, people are doing more and more now, and they get more money to do
Yeah,
more
they're
stuff.
just starting to get their insurance checks, and
Exactly.
that's the reason why C&D doesn't start on day one. We start vegetation because we know the trees are down. We give people time to meet with their insurance adjusters, get their insurance checks, hire their contractors, get their materials. At that time, which is right about now, is when the C&D stuff starts to come
Yeah,
out.
that's fantastic to know. We're going to do this through the duration.
Till it's picked up.
To make the city whole.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. Thanks again, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Brannigan.
How are these guys paid? By the truckload or by the day?
I believe it's by the truckload.
Truckload. Okay. Well, that would make me think they'd want to pick up as much as fast as they can and get that at dump site.
Councilwoman McKinney?
Thank you, Council President. I just had one more question. So
You're
about,
off.
oh, no, I'm just not
There you go.
loud enough. Thanks. So all of the debris that was dropped off, that was brought in by citizens that were dropped off at the site, that the normal site, is that directly going to the trash, or is that being sorted and going to C&D and all that?
That gets sorted as well.
Okay.
And we actually have an excavator in the back that's doing the reduction back there.
Okay, and I know that some people dropped off recycling in the past because they were, is that actually was there a pile for recycling items as
Yes.
well?
There's actually a gated separate area for recyclables, and that's where those were stored.
Okay, and those, and right now that,
Would go in with the trucks that picked up today.
okay, perfect, thank you.
I have one question, and I think it might help understand a potential process that you're underdoing. If we call in and we have a picture, say a picture, an address and a picture, and I would think that would help to determine the immediate need and the type of need. Is it fair to say that it would be from roughly maybe 1 week to 3 weeks before it be addressed? I mean, just a...
Yeah, I mean, look, that's being fair to us. Like, as I said, the substantial completion, we're hoping to get at least a good sweep completely through the city by those 60-day mark. So that's 3 weeks from now. So, yeah, we would hope if you send them to me, we'll definitely, obviously, like you said, we're triaging. I know, look, everybody just wants the stuff picked up in front of their house. We want the stuff picked up from the whole city. So we understand people's individual needs and priorities, but we're prioritizing. We want the whole city picked up.
And I like that word triage, being a nurse, so thank you.
Got it.
Any other questions? No, sir. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Mr. Pittsfield.
Next, we're going to have Ms. Deborah Foshee, our CEO, and then we're going to have Adam Campo, will be followed by Ryan Dahl. Just keep this going.
All right, so we will be having at the next council meeting an executive session put on by our outside counsel handling our insurance litigation, which is Dominic Impastato. Between now and then, we are continuing with the mitigation stabilization process. There's not much remediation going on as we have insurance claims pending. I can tell you that there are 32 properties that are currently undergoing mitigation. We have 13 cleared. When we say cleared, that really just means they're cleared so that we can do the remediation. Doesn't mean that they can be used necessarily. We have 14 that are currently in progress, 5 are pending. We have a couple that I think are going to hit the demo list, which includes the Green Lawn concession stand and the Mus Bernalino press box. We are having engineering looks at those right now and trying to determine if we can at least save the stands in front of the press box at Mus Bernalino. With respect to the remaining buildings that are either partially or completely approved, we're having an industrial hygienist is going through these. That's sort of the last step before a remediation decision is made. And then we are putting out for SOQ for the contractors to perform the remediation services, because if we want FEMA reimbursement, we have to go out to SOQ. So the SOQ for the roofing, which is basically what we're going to do first, is due back on the 29th. So by the time we get around to our next council meeting, we should be in a better position to tell you what we can pull the trigger on at that point, and also give you an update on both the insurance claim and where we stand with FEMA. We have a fabulous team working on all of this. This would be way too overwhelming if we didn't have a lot of backup. So I just want to shout out first to Ryan Dahl, who'll be up in a minute, but he's going last because he was tardy. And then we have Jansen AI, which is our public adjuster, Southern Cat, and CRC, who are doing the stabilization and remediation, and then Deloitte. And the whole group of Deloitte is here. Like, who did y'all leave at home? All of our Deloitte folks are here. They're here from helping us with the GOSEP and FEMA. They're the audit team, making sure that we don't miss anything, that we don't make a claim for anything that we shouldn't get, and that we don't miss a claim for something that we should. And I also got a call out. I think I see Jean Cayouette, our former finance director, who probably knows more about FEMA reimbursement than any of the rest of us combined, as he was the one who did Katrina for the city of Kenner. So welcome. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this point. But again, let's look forward to an executive session at the next council meeting where we can go into more detail in terms of the claims related to the insurance.
Questions? Councilman Brannigan.
The Bertolino press box, it's obviously the back wall blew out and everything. Are we planning to try and rebuild that, or?
We'll be bringing you two different engineering reports because right now the challenge is that even if we take it down to rebuild later, we can't use the stands because that is the back wall of the stands themselves. So we're trying to find out if the stands are stable or not. As you know, we did have a Discover School game there last week, and we'll have a couple more. We're putting absolutely positively everybody on the visitor side. I mean, it's not optimal, but that's how we're going to do it until we get this up and working. Once the engineers have completed, contractors will tell us, we'll make a recommendation as to, does it get reconstructed the way it is? Did it get reconstructed differently? How much insurance are we going to get for it? So we'll come back to you with all that information. Right now, we just need to stabilize it so it doesn't fall on anybody's car or head.
Okay. I would like to be involved in that process.
I bet you would. I think you built the last one, right? Yes.
Yeah,
our plan is for you to build it again. It'll be a lot cheaper than getting a contractor. So I'll talk to you about that after the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Councilwoman McKinney.
Thank you, Council President. Ms. Foshee, I would like to just request, I know you said there's a demo list. If you can just share that with us, that information, because you mentioned...
There's two being considered for demo. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a list, but at this point, there's two being considered for demo, which is the Mus Bertolino concession stand and the Mus Bertolino press box and the Green Lawn concession stand.
What's wrong with the Green Lawn concession stand?
It is in danger of collapse because once they pulled out all of the damage, they realized that the support timbers were no longer structurally sound. So we will also have an engineering report to you about that as soon as that's complete.
Okay, because I used to hang out there all the time, so I'm happy they didn't collapse on top of me.
Don't do it anymore.
I know I don't do that anymore, but I believe it was probably like that before the storm. So.
It could have been. We'll figure that out.
Thanks.
You realize that Jim was that old?
We have no other questions. Mayor.
All right, Mr. Adam Campo, talk about operations.
So I'll be brief. Most of you have had the tour through this building. You know what's operational here and what's not. Council offices have been built behind us. Leading up to that, y'all know we have the chambers. You know, we had code enforcement running. We have a mayor's office here. We have the legal department, which is built out and will be moving in next week. We have PIO offices as well as a cultural liaison that will be moving in next week. IT department has moved in an auxiliary site here as well because they're in here working every day as well. And then we have a planning department that will be coming in next week, and civil service actually came in this week. On the opposite side of the wall, once we get the air conditioning fixed, we are going to start, Mark and his crew, building out an actual court chambers in this building and a recreation portion of this building as well. And that's the update on operations. Any questions?
The court chamber you mentioned, Adam,
yes.
Is that it's going to be different than this one.
It is. It's going to be their own chambers, because what we don't have here is an actual office for the clerk of court employees. They're just working all in the courtroom. Whereas before, you know, in the building operationally, they were separated. The windows were separated from the clerks that worked behind the scenes, and then there were clerks that worked in the actual court proceedings that went on as well.
So the court proceedings will be held elsewhere in another area?
In another section of this building. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Any other questions? Councilman Segur.
Thank you. In that discussion, but without getting too much into the security aspect, the court officers have asked, I've talked to them, to ensure that they have some secure place in case a judge says remand him and take him over. That's going to be handled?
I think we can accommodate that. I'm in regular communication with both Robbie and Officer Glazer as well. So we're taking into consideration everything that they need for security, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Campo.
And one last thing before we go to Mr. Dahl. I believe Mr. Campo passed out the expenditures, emergency expenditures as to date. It's higher than what we shared with y'all last time because it's been 2 weeks and there was other things that we were looking at. So you do have what was requested of Councilman Brannigan, I think Councilman McKinney last week, and we offered to give that to you. So you have those expenditures. So with that said, the last speaker is Mr. Ryan Dahl.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for letting me come speak to you today. It's not really about insurance this time, unless, of course, you have questions. The reason is because we were purchased by a national agency by the name of USI. And that does not stand for anything. It's just 3 letters, USI. Looked it up, couldn't find anything. So we are not going anywhere as far as the team that services Kenner. We still love you guys, love working with you, love Deborah making fun of me for being late. It all works perfect. So just wanted to let you know that we do have a new owner, but everything else should be hopefully staying the same, other than, of course, we hope to get better and have more tools and markets and all those things. Any questions anyone has, I'm happy to answer.
Questions? Concerns? Questions? None. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
That concludes the mayor's comments, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. That will conclude the consent agenda. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the consent agenda. Council members, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,877. An ordinance amending the 2021-2022 operating and capital budgets to fund 2 part-time recreation department employees to assist at Musbertolino Playground and amending ordinance number 7549. I have a motion by Councilmember Segur, seconded by Councilmember Hayes, to open your public hearing. Council members, please vote to open your hearing. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Councilman Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Is there anyone in the public wishing to address the council on this matter? Please come forward now. Sorry, motion carries 7-0 to open your hearing. Seeing no further public comment at this time, I have a motion by Councilmember Segur, seconded by Councilmember Hayes, to close your public hearing. Council members, please vote to close your hearing. Councilman Segur?
Yay.
Yes.
Hayes? Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing. I have a motion by Councilmember Segur, seconded by Councilmember Hayes, for approval. Any discussion?
Councilman Segur, you have the floor.
Yes. This has been on our agenda. I think this is the 4th time. It was put up during budget discussions in May, trying to resolve a problem at Musbertolino Playground to get it open. And Councilman Hayes and myself had offered to put up money from our districts and encourage other districts to do the same, to fund to part-time employees to get it open. Since that time, the budget's been approved. Without it, the park or the playground or the track has been opened, even though I think it may be closed now because of the storm. So at this point, I don't see any real need to have this on our agenda and keep deferring it. So I'd like to motion for an indefinite deferral.
I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Hayes on an indefinite deferral. Any discussion on the indefinite deferral?
Well, I do want to make a comment. This was read into summary in July, and we have deferred 3 different times. We're here today. When we did this, we were trying to correct a problem. We were trying to get our citizens to be able to walk on the walking path. We're in a different time. We're in a different place right now. If this probably will be deferred again, and probably Councilman Segura and I will vote against it, and everybody else will vote for it. If there's another reason to keep deferring this, I think we should have an understanding why. Do we still need 2 people that would all contribute to make something work?
Councilman Brannigan.
Well, this piece of legislation affects District 4, and I plan to vote to keep this legislation on until I decide that it is coming off. I think it's important for District 4.
Any further discussion on indefinite deferral?
If you will, clarify the vote, please.
I have a question. So,
sure.
Do we have the staff members there?
Not yet.
So this is something we could always bring back up, right?
I would rather defer this legislation until it's time to take it off, and I don't think it's time to take it off now.
Understood. Respect.
It's a District 4 issue.
Put up by District 2 and 3. So
that overstepped their boundaries.
Okay.
And we'll take the vote on the deferral.
All right. If you will, Madam Clerk, we'll take a vote on the indefinite deferral, correct?
Yes, you're voting on indefinite deferral. Councilman Hayes?
No.
Wait.
Councilman Brannigan?
No.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
I'm sorry. No.
Councilman Wilmot?
Nay.
Councilman Carroll?
Nay.
Councilman Segura?
Yes.
Motion fails 2-5. Councilmembers Hayes, Brannigan, McKinney, Wilmot, and Carroll are opposed.
Council President.
I have received a request, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Councilman Brannigan has requested a 2-meeting deferral. I have a motion from Councilman Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, for a 2-meeting deferral.
Council Clerk, I tried to get the Council President's attention before you read that. I had something to do.
Okay, I wanted to ask procedurally, Madam Clerk, is it fair to allow a council person to speak at this time before we take that vote?
Councilman Brannigan, would you like to allow Councilman Segura to speak at this time?
Sure. Councilman Segura.
Thank you. As I reiterated a few minutes ago, this was a discussion that came up as a result of at the May budget hearing, trying to help resolve a problem at a park in the city of Kenner. Two council members, Councilman Hayes and myself, were willing to put up money and hopefully encourage everyone else to do the same to resolve that problem. It's not a problem anymore. The track was reopened and has been functioning up until the storm, which has a different effect. In light of that, I see no need for me personally to put up any more money toward this. I would like to remove my motion for this item and remove my name from the legislation.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Hayes, to amend the legislation to remove your name as a submitted by. Is that correct? Councilman Hayes?
Correct.
Do you want to remove your name as well?
Yes.
So the motion would be to remove the submitted by Segura and Hayes as submitted by, right? That's an affirmative amendment.
Yeah, Madam Clerk, now, if that's removed, is it your understanding that somebody has to be reinstituted on the legislation for the purposes of submitted by, since there's no name? Can it be amended at this point as well, in addition to that amendment, to add submitters?
You can. I've taken that before, and it. Yeah, this piece was submitted via the supplemental agenda, and when the clerk receives items via the supplemental agenda, we generally have a submitted by, just to designate that a council member has submitted this item on the agenda.
So could we do I would think that Councilman Brannigan would like to do a substitution rather than just remove their names. He would like to have their names removed and it be substituted with his name. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, the clerk can do that. So
Okay.
your amendment would be to remove Councilman Segura and Hayes as submitted by and replace it with Councilmember Brannigan. That will be what you're voting on as your amendment.
Is that correct, Councilman Segura?
You had a motion by me, and now it's another change. I'm going to ask the city attorney for some guidance, because I thought if by requesting my name be removed from the motion and the legislation, did not quite recall that it needed to be voted on, but if it does, is that the correct process? Sure.
I would like to be second for Councilman Brannigan, second on adding my name after second. If two are coming off, I want to be one of the two going on.
And if I'm not correct, before that, we already had a motion pending before stating that the actual legislation would be deferred for 2 meetings. So that's even before this motion.
Because you.
Yeah, we haven't voted on that yet.
That's correct, Council President.
So we have to dispense with that motion first before anybody can remove or add their names, I presume. So the names will stay on it for this vote.
Madam City Attorney, I have amended legislation previously by just changing the submitted by or removing it without an amendment, official amendment. So do you feel okay if I just amend this legislation without a vote to just change the submitted by?
The problem is there's still a vote on the floor to defer.
Right, so what I'm saying is Councilman Segura is requesting that the author be changed. So is it okay if I just change this legislation by the submitted by? It's not changing the intent. It's not actually changing any of the body of the legislation. It's just changing the submitted by. So can I do that without an official motion and a second and a vote on changing the submitted by?
In order to answer your question, Council Clerk, under the motion to amend, which we can address, but there's still a vote on the floor that the council has to vote on, and that's the deferral for 2 weeks.
Right. So if we're not actually having to amend to change the submitted by, then that wouldn't change any order. We would just go back to simply to the motion that's on the floor. He's just making a point of clarification, actually, to the clerk that he wants his name removed off of the legislation. Councilman Brannigan is requesting that he wants his name. So he's just making a point of clarification at this juncture in the meeting, and then we would go back to the motion that's on the floor for a deferral. So you feel confident that the clerk can amend this to change the author without a motion and a second and a vote?
Under Rule 30, and the subsections, as long as it does not change the intent, then yes, the motion to amend may be second and adopted by the majority.
So thank you. So the clerk will take this as a point of clarification from the council members to change the authors of the legislation from Councilman Segura and Councilman Hayes to Councilman Brannigan. Point of clarification. We will.
And Carol said he
Oh,
wanted
you
it.
want Carol and Brannigan. Thank you. We'll change that. So you're back to your motion for a two-meeting deferral. Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney on a two-meeting deferral. Is there any discussion on the two-meeting deferral? Seeing none, council members, please vote on a two-meeting deferral. Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Councilman Segura?
Yay.
Councilman Hayes?
In deference to Councilman Brannigan, I agree. It is a District 4 matter.
You're voting yay for
Yay.
two-meeting deferral?
Yeah, yes, if that's what he wants.
Okay, thank you. Your motion passes 7-0 for two-meeting deferral. Item 9A is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of immovable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution temporarily suspending Council Rule Number 7 to relocate the Kenner council meetings to the Macy's building at 1401 West Esplanade Avenue, Kenner, Louisiana, for the remainder of the calendar year of 2021. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Council members, is there any discussion?
Questions?
Councilman Brannigan?
Councilman Brown.
And this is for the administration, is there any plan to try and get back to the council chambers?
That would be impossible. At this point, we've made that clear. The buildings have issues. If Ms. Foshi wants to take that further.
Okay.
Where we are in the process, having completed the stabilization, mitigation, and waiting for the bids for remediation, we have an industrial hygienist going through each building. With those reports, we'll be able to make a determination of if the buildings can be repaired or if they need to be reconstructed, but we're not at the point where we can make that recommendation at this time.
And I think what the question might be, Councilman, is that, is it going to happen before this timeline runs out? No. I mean, we are going to be displaced for quite some time.
Okay. Okay. Because I had thought that building wasn't as bad from
No, we made that clear.
hearsay, but that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
so this gets us through the end of the year,
Right.
basically. And then in December, we're going to have to figure out what the deal is starting in January.
That's fine.
Okay, well, I'm good with
That's
that.
fine. Yes.
I'm good with that.
Councilwoman McKinney.
Yes, thank you, Council President. And I just want to clarify, I know you said that executive session will be discussing the information about the buildings. Will information about our council chambers and the replacement of those buildings, that'll be shared in that meeting as well?
If that is subject of the pending or threatened litigation, it will be.
Okay.
I'll have more information about that before that meeting. I'll be able to identify what we're going to go over.
Okay, so if we're not going to do that in the meeting, I would like that information. I'm requesting that information so we can have more information about that.
As with the last time, we will run that request past the attorney, Dominic Impastato. Right now, because we have a pending claim, whether it turns into litigation or not is largely going to depend upon how that is handled. So part of it is, I don't want to say threatened litigation, but we're in negotiations right now, and releasing information pertaining to pending negotiations could be detrimental to the city. I will be happy to give
Right,
you
but
any
we're agents of the city as well, right? I'm not the general public. I'm not going to share it with the general public. So to me, all of us are agents of the city, and we have a confidentially, if I get that information, I'm not going to share it with anyone, right?
As soon as the attorney approves that, we'd be happy to provide that with you. The materials you have tonight regarding the cost to date were approved by the attorney to be released to you. So that is how you obtain that information. So as soon as that's approved, we will be happy to provide you any information we have.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will not be supporting the extension of the meetings here. I've made it abundantly clear early on that it is my personal opinion that the city business should not be conducted in private facilities. That's just it's not up for debate. It is my personal opinion. One of the reasons is I believe that, there's a blurred line for city government, private businesses. I believe that, it sometimes take away the energy or the resources and to be able to put more effort towards city buildings that could be fixed to have our council meetings. Now, it is more directed, my comments are more directed to the council meetings. They may be a reason to have other facilities here or other places, which is another reason, because my belief is there will be a charge for this facility. I can assure you we are going to have to pay something. Will we get reimbursed? I pray to God that we do. But when we just arbitrarily just pick one place over other places, and there may be other places that maybe give us a better deal on it. I don't know. But my biggest concern is for the city council meeting, it should be at a city or a governmental type building. The Jefferson Parish, the East Jefferson Levy District, places like that, I believe, is more conducive to city business. So, again, this should not be a surprise to anyone. I will not be supporting it. I believe, we need to get back in a city building to be able to have the business for the people. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I'd like to make comment, too. I do believe as well that it should be in a government-owned building, but at the same token, this is we have a lot of difficulties with the buildings we have, and questions have been asked and questions have been answered indicating that there is no other place between now and the end of the year as to where we can hold our council meetings. And from what I understand, that is correct. As far as the current council, a place that's big enough to house these meetings, do we have any facilities available, government owned by Kenner?
Councilman, what you're saying is completely correct, and I do feel a bit like a broken record, not for you, but we have made that comment since the very first council meeting in this building, in this room. This is not just the home of the council meetings. This is the home of court for right now. This is the home of planning and zoning when they start meeting, civil service, 2 civil service boards, a ZA board. There's lots of things that have to go on in these chambers. We do not have another building, and I'll say it, I guess, for the last time, because it gets a little repetitive to continue to say the same thing. Every building was hit by Hurricane Ida. I don't know what else I need to say. We have no place else to go. So when I saw this on the agenda, I was appreciative that at least y'all, I figured y'all were doing it just in 2 or 3 months increments, which is fine. But I guess I'll say it one more time. This could be a long, drawn-out process. We give reports. We've been here 3 times, 4 times already? Every time we've been in here 3 or 4 times, we give a report. We give a thorough report. It's the same thing. Debris, operations, and buildings. I don't know what maybe I'll just stop giving the reports, because I don't know if it's not getting to everyone on the council. So I'm trying to figure out, I guess, what else do we need to say? Because appreciative that y'all see that the council meetings need to be someplace other than the City Hall complex, other than places that we have, that we own. We will speak with the management company again here, the owners. We will continue to do that. The keys were turned over with no issues. If there's a price tag at the end, I believe FEMA will take care of that. Then you go add to that, if they wouldn't for some reason, there's tax issues. So I believe we're on the right side. I believe this is a place where we have held other meetings besides the city meetings. We had a law firm and an adjuster come in here to explain to the public last week, or week before last, how our residents can benefit. Councilman Brannigan also set up, I believe, 1 or 2 meetings here, with maybe 1 meeting here and 1 in South Kenner, Insurance Commissioner Donovan's office came here. So we're holding other things here. I believe on Monday, it might not be good for all the council meetings, but it's good for the redistricting meeting. I'm a little perplexed by that. Why is it good for some things, but it's not good for everything? So look, it's the will of the council where y'all want to go, but any place else we'd go, we'd have to pay. Unless you choose to go outside the city of Kenner, which I think is totally ridiculous. I mean, the city, and I don't think Councilman Carroll would be with that because he made it clear that this is the Kenner, what's going on in the city of Kenner. So if you step outside the city of Kenner to another chambers, that's kind of weird when some of our residents are still living with blue tarps on top of their roofs. So this is a makeshift city hall, a makeshift council chambers. I know it's not as plush and as nice and comfortable as the council chambers. It's better than Zoom. It's not even an option, but it is better than Zoom. I see faces here tonight that I haven't seen before. I did have some concerns, like Councilman Carroll had early on, of how do the people take this? I asked the code director just this week. She's 3 weeks into it. I said, how's it going? What's the response? Because the first thing you walk into in the first department we put here was code. What's the response from the people? I'm worried about our employees, but the employees are happy. Talk to the employees too, they're very happy. But what's the response of the taxpayers? What are the residents saying? Not one complaint. Most of the people say, this is really central Kenner. Councilman Segura will agree with me, and so will Councilman Hayes, representing Greenlawn, me representing Greenlawn in the past. As a district councilman, it was called the Central Playground. Well, this is not North Kenner or South Kenner. This is Central Kenner. We're centralized right here, right before West Esplanade. You can get to it very easily from the south, very easily from the north, and everything's centrally located around it. Not one complaint. So the pushback would be puzzling. I don't understand it. There is no pushback from the residents. Councilman Carroll requested to have an office at the EOC. We decided through discussions through my staff with his staff that would be better at the Council on Aging. He took that, I believe, or he's taking that. I never said, when we talked about this building years ago, which never came to fruition at that point, when I talked about that, I said there would be something at Building D to service South Kenner residents, some type of a kiosk. I'll live up to that commitment. I'm not saying we're permitted here. I'm saying, I've said to everyone, I said to the advocate the other day when they tried to get me basically to say that it was permanent. No, it's temporary. It's temporary. But temporary could be, and again, I feel like that broken record again, temporary could be 6 months, a year. It could be 4 years. My question is, where would we go?
And Mayor, I think that the thing is, and I still have the floor, so
I'm agreeing with you, Councilman.
Bear with me. We just need to know the status, that's all. And so we're looking at between now and the end of the year, and now it's very clear that you're indicating it's going to go well beyond the year, but that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah,
that was the reasoning for my questions.
Councilman, I usually call you about stuff on the agenda, and I saw that. I didn't call you because I appreciate it. It gets us through the end of the year. It gets us through the next, 5 council meetings?
Correct.
So the next 5 council meetings, we know we're here. Let's address it, you and I, let's address it as an open meeting.
And it's the holidays. It's coming up.
Right. But I mean, I guess, the meeting before Christmas, or we can discuss it before then, would probably be a good idea, to give you a status report where we are.
Right.
But you're not going to be, and you and I did have a discussion at the last council meeting, maybe we could do something close. No, we knew we couldn't do it, but out of courtesy to you, we looked into it. You can't do that. You can't, subdivide something and cut it off. The council chambers, the city hall complex will not be inhabitable at this time, or I feel, I might be going too far, for quite some time. I don't feel it will be. Y'all have seen it.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask the question.
No, I'm actually, that long speech was actually agreeing with you, Councilman.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council President. a little puzzled now based on these comments of these meetings potentially being maybe illegal because this is not a government building. I'm going to ask our city attorney, not right now, do some research, tell us, please, somebody, I've never heard this say, this is not a legal meeting because it's not a government building. Give me guidance.
Well, first of all, there is no requirement that these meetings be in a government building, but legally, this is now a government building under the emergency order that was properly issued where the building now is being used by the city. This is in effect a government building under the emergency proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman.
That would be my understanding also. So thank you for that, to give me and certainly the audience the understanding that this is a legal meeting in a building that is authorized to have such a council meeting, not a disclaimer that we're doing something illegal. Thank you.
And as council president, I never heard that accusation before.
Thank you.
Just to let you know.
I'm going to let him know also, I never once said anything, I never used the word illegal in any of my comments. So I never said that. What I said was, and I did say it was my personal opinion, it wasn't up for debate if someone agreed with me or not. I say my personal opinion is that the city business should, in my opinion, be done in a city building. That's what I said. And I did say, I did not say I disagreed with the mayor about the situation for our business. I'm sure they are disturbed, but I also said there are probably a couple other buildings we could have it in. That's what I said. So for clarification, I never said the meeting was illegal. I said there are a couple of other buildings we possibly could have it in. And I said the energy that we put into this, sometimes when you settle for this, you tend to get a little lazy and not look into other things. And I don't want that to happen. So that's what I'm talking about, and that is a conversation I agree with the mayor to have with the council chair, to continue to have that as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councilman Hayes.
I have heard a comment saying that maybe we could go out of the city, like the Jefferson council chambers. Does our charter dictate that we do have to have a meeting in the city?
Give me 1 second, Councilman.
Councilman Hayes, is that your only question?
Yes.
Or, may I just interject while the city attorney...
You mind if he takes the floor, Councilman? You mind if Councilman Brennan takes the floor?
No. Rather than just...
Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
You know, part of me, I understand that we should be, but we can't be. We can't be somewhere else. I think this works really, really well. And to be quite honest, when we were going from this building and having a meeting, the next meeting was at another building, I had to leave my house at about 3:30 because I wasn't sure if I was going to Rivertown or where I was going. We put a schedule out with all the council meetings at the beginning of the year and say, these are the dates. And that lets everyone know, the public, all of us, assistants, whoever, and by all of the meetings being at one location, I think that condenses and eliminates any confusion as well. I think this is working out really well. It's not permanent. I like the council chambers. There's a lot of history and nostalgia in that building, the things that have been done for the city of Kenner through the years. I mean, that's a lot of history. But this is something that is hopefully temporary. We don't know the time frame. The insurance stuff, it could be months, it could be years. But we have a place to call home. Our assistants, if someone calls and says, where do I need to go? It's not, well, let me go look that up. It's building A, building B, building C. It's one location that everybody can come to, and everybody knows they can get the city business done here. So, yeah, it would be nice to be in a government building. And I had spoken with Councilman Impastato. The mayor and I spoke about Jefferson Parish when it all kind of first started. And the mayor was very adamant we should keep this in the city of Kenner. And after we spoke about it a little bit, it was it would have been easy to go to Jefferson Parish. But I do agree with that. Our people live in Kenner. Our constituents obviously are here. We should keep the business of the city inside the city. So I'm for this. I think this is good. And I think right near the end of the year, we go ahead and look at the schedule for the next 3 or 6 months and go ahead and make changes based on updates when we get it from the building. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilman Brennan. Yes, Ms.
I wanted
Sala,
to answer Councilman Hayes' question.
please.
Under section 2.10, I'm sorry.
We can't hear with the mask.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry. All right, under section 2.10, it's silent on it being in Kenner. So there's no requirement for the city council meeting to be specifically in Kenner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brannigan.
You know, before the hurricane hit, we were having council meetings at the Pavilion, we were having council meetings at Heritage Hall, and our workers were getting pulled in different directions, having to go set something up, and then, you know, then they had to go back and take it down, and you're taking them out of the workforce for a day and a half every council meeting week. As much as I would want to be in the council chambers, obviously, we have to do this temporary until this is worked out. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just for clarity again, I agree with the mayor that the meeting should be in the city of Kenner. I agree with that. Even though we don't have to be in the city of Kenner, I agree with that. I agree with Councilman Brannigan and Brennan that going back and forth is confusing. It is just as confusing as our meetings now are on Thursday and Friday. That's confusing to a lot of people because we had did it for 1,000 years. So I get that. I would also agree that it should be in one location. I agree with all of that. I just said that I believe, my opinion, that it should be in a city building. And I don't want us to lose focus by not looking to try to resolve that situation as we move forward. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Seeing no further discussion, Councilmember Brennan. Councilmembers, please vote. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Nay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Councilmember Carroll is opposed. Item 13B is a resolution calling a public hearing to determine whether the structures located at 1039 Leeson Drive in Kenner, Louisiana shall be abated by repair, rehabilitation, or removal. Have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura. Mr. Chairman, I've received a request from the Code Enforcement Director that there is a typographical error in the legislation. The legislation needs to be amended to read 1009 Leeson Drive. We will be amending the legislation to reflect that address throughout the legislation. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Council members, please vote on your amendment. Councilman McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to amend. Back to your original motion, item 13B as amended. Motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Segura. Councilmember, any discussion? Council members, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Councilman Segura?
Yay.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is a resolution approving amendment number 2 to the Community Housing Development Organization, CHDO, agreement between the City of Kenner and New Hope Community Development Corporation. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council members, please vote. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segure?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Traffic Commander LLC to supply aluminum sheet and sign blanks as needed in accordance with seal bid number 21-6618 and an amount not to exceed $40,000 for the Department of General Services. Item 16B is an ordinance approving amendment number 1 to the agreement with Shred Kirkendall and Associates Incorporated to provide additional engineering services associated with the 24th Street and Delaware Avenue Sewer Lift Station Upgrades Project for an increase of the agreement amount to $244,769.91 and an extension of the agreement term for the Department of Public Works. Item 17 is reports from the council and/or special committees.
And on that note, Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to ask everyone for their support and appreciation for two different topics. One is the Hispanic Appreciation Month, which is this month. Also, the domestic abuse also is this month, dignified by the color purple. So you see people in purple. It is a sign that either they had someone in their family or they know of someone that had to deal with this unjust, terrible offense to either husbands, wives, or children. So please keep them in your prayers. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Councilman Segura.
Just piggybacking on what Councilman Carroll just said, I'd like to also acknowledge that this is also Breast Cancer Month, and when you see men in pink, that shows we sympathize and look for a cure for this and hope that we have no more problems with that for the very fine women in our lives. Thank you.
Men can get better.
I know. I don't have as much mass.
Council Chair.
And yes, Mayor.
Just make an announcement about our annual trunk or treat. Will be October 28th in this parking lot on this side, right here at the Macy's parking lot, facing the Target entrance, 7 to 9, October 28th. There will not be another council meeting before that, so I think it's the next day, so we'll have it the night before.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mayor.
Drop through also, very important.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say we're going to have a couple of meetings or hearings coming up this coming week, Monday and Wednesday. It's going to be, the council's going to take or give information regarding redistricting. And I say the council, we have a team in place that's actually going to do most of that, but we're going to be at two different locations. Monday, October 18th, I'm sorry. We're going to be here at the Macy's building at Esplanade Mall, and we have a meeting scheduled for, I think that's at noon. That's at noon. Then we have a second meeting that's going to be scheduled for Wednesday, October 20th, which is commencing at 6:00 p.m., and that's at Kenner Senior Citizen Center.
Council on Aging.
Council on Aging?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Council on Aging. Is that 641 Compromise?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And the Litchfield team will be presenting and giving information regarding redistricting. So that every 10 years we do that. So it's right after we do the census, we get that information, and it's mandatory that we do so. So here we are. Just wanted to give that information. So please attend if you're interested. Thank you. Any other input? No, Madam Clerk?
Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is items to be reconsidered or removed from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Greg Teff. You waive? Thank you, sir. And next we have Ms. Nora Philos, if you will. Name and address.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Nora Philos. I'm here on behalf of my mother at 3283 Continental. I have two items of concern today. One of them being, has there been any discussion on the senior center reopening? Of course, I know that we're still in a pandemic or whatever, but has anyone considered the collateral damage of these seniors? They're not interacting, they're at home, and so on and so forth.
Do we have any
I'll take that
information
as a
on
big
that?
no.
Ms. Foshee?
I was at the Council on Aging last week, and there were people there participating in bingo, so I'm assuming
Okay,
it's open.
wonderful.
But look, if I could get your number afterwards so I can call you and confirm, maybe it's limited hours or something, but I
Okay.
would be happy to follow up for you, okay?
Wonderful, thank you. The second thing is I've noticed that there has been an increase in vagrant population around the city. And I was wondering if there is a reason why we're not enforcing
It's a police issue.
it's a police issue. That means that the police are not,
I didn't say that.
is there a reason there's a law change or something like that?
I didn't say that. It's a police issue, not the council nor the administration.
So
can weigh in
then
on
we
that.
would have to
I
take it
will-
up with the police department?
What we can do is get, Ms. Foshee is going to get your name and number anyway.
Okay.
I'll be happy to pass it on to the chief.
Wonderful.
And he
Thank
can
you.
turn your call. No problem.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
We're adjourned.